next guest is an Emmy-winning actor you know from his work on shows like The Bear, Girls, and The Dropout, as well as the Fantastic Four First Steps. He's currently making his Broadway debut in Dog Day Afternoon at the August Wilson Theater here in New York. Please welcome back to the show our friend Ebon Moss-Bachrach, everybody. Congratulations, Broadway debut.
Yeah, Broadway debut.
Broadway debut.
Cross that off the list. Yeah.
You did a lot of New York theater, but the not Broadway stuff.
Yeah, the off-Broadway. Not too far from Broadway, but, you know, a little further
Yeah.
west.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit less tourists around, just
Yeah.
like the real hardcore theater people.
Yeah, subscribers. It felt like everyone had like a New Yorker subscription or like had a tote bag in the audience, you know, that kind of thing. That's actually one of the nice things about about doing this play is that our audiences are really great and lovely, like young and from all over the world, all over New York. That's like that's been a nice surprise.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
We have a rowdy crowd. It's good.
Did you love those? Do you romanticize those early days of theater in New York? Like when you look back on them and you're like, oh, that was really cool.
Yeah, well, I don't see them as I'm still you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I can't wait to like do another play at the Public or whatever. You know, like I love those.
Right,
all
they're
those
not
times.
in your rear view.
Yeah,
You're just not doing
it wasn't
them
like like a path to something else. It's
Yeah.
just part of all of that. I had for a while I had this great ratio, and I had a few years where I would do like 2 plays, 1 like studio movie that would kind of like pay the rent, and then a couple independent movies, and that was like always like my perfect equation.
That's a very nice mix.
Yeah,
if you could do all that stuff in 1 year as an actor, that seems really cool.
I know. I think I could do that maybe once or something. But that was always like the ideal.
When
you know,
all you have to do is do
balance.
something once, and you're like, oh, that's what I got to aim for moving forward.
Yeah.
Is it Jon Bernthal, who also from The Bear, is his Broadway debut as well?
It's John's debut as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. And has it been helpful to be doing this with someone that you had a previous relationship with?
I don't think I would have done it without John. I
Yeah.
think he's such a fearless leader. You know, he's a beautiful actor, beautiful person, like so brave and tireless. He's got a really hard part, and I just think that his tenacity, and he's just he's built for it.
You wouldn't have done it without him. Do you think he would have done it without you?
100%.
Yeah.
We
did call him ahead of time. That was his answer.
He was doing it. He was doing it without me, and I was like, wait a second.
When did you meet him? How long have you known him?
Okay, so this is, you know, he loves to tell people that, you know, he was my understudy. About like 23 years ago, I was doing a play at the Signature Theater, Lanford Wilson play called The 5th of July. And John was understudying me and David Harbour and Robert Sean Leonard. He was coming,
Wow.
and he never went on. And I have no memory of him actually being there, but he claims he was there.
That's a real power move to be like, I just wish I remembered you.
No, yeah. But I think it's kind of a power move of his to be like, yeah, I was your understudy, and you know, I think he's kind of like uses it to mess with me a little bit, you know.
A lot of people talk about the bad behavior of Broadway audiences, not like malicious behavior, but like people, you know, opening, you know, bags very loudly. Obviously, phones are an issue.
Yeah.
But you maybe, I haven't heard about the bad behavior of people on stage. But
Oh yes. Okay, so this happened the other evening, Saturday night. Yeah, 2 nights ago, or I don't know. When does this air here?
Yeah.
Who knows? Will it even? This probably,
You know
at
what,
this rate, it's not going. We're not going to be.
Yeah,
on TV.
we probably won't air it.
I think that's probably for the best.
We didn't realize. Yeah, John was your understudy. Yeah.
Saturday night, the Knicks game was on. We got a little TV set up in our green room, and you know, I think we've done 50-something shows, and I've been lulled into sort of a false sense of security and routine.
Right, you might feel like I've got this now.
And I got about 15, 20 minutes in the second act where I'm not on stage, and I went up to check the game.
Yeah.
Check on the score, and since it was Saturday night, my daughter was out, and I just checked to see that she was all good, and then I got back like into the wings with plenty of time before I had to go back on, do a scene with John, and then it's like the final scene of the play, which is very quiet and sort of a scene that I really love, but it's different. Tonally, it's different than the rest of the play. A lot of the play is like really bright lights and loud and everything. This is this one quiet little gem of a scene. and our stage, our set rotates. So I'm sort of waiting. There's a scene going on outside of the bank, and the bank rotates like this. And as we start to rotate, I see that my phone is in my front pocket of my tight suit pants, and I started like the first time I prayed, and all this, and I didn't know if it was on. I didn't know if it was on silent, and I turned my phone off. I turned it when I go to the movies. That's my worst nightmare, having, and in this sensitive scene, all I could think about was just this thing here, and the fact that I'd already done a scene already and didn't even realize that it was on me. I think.
Because even in a modern play, if a phone goes off, it's bad. But this takes place in the 70s.
This takes place in the 70s. There's no world where I would have.
Yeah.
And I have an unusual ringtone too. I have the theme from The Third Man. The zither music.
Yeah.
So it's like a.
But at least that movie had been out when this happened.
So that would have been.
That would have been better.
Yeah. But it was, my prayers are answered. It didn't go off, but it was a horrible, horrible feeling. So I would just encourage all actors out there just to double check, just not to just let that be a cautionary tale. I cannot believe, I'm so embarrassed that I did this.
I'm glad it did not go off. Did you, when it was over, you're like, God, nobody calls me. Did you have that moment?
Yeah.
Did you? So this is based on the film Dog Day Afternoon, which was based on a true life event in New York City, a bank robbery.
Yes.
So this is this interesting thing, which is a play that is written about something that happened, but also it's this iconic film. How do you, as an actor, go into it? While you're trying to make it obviously unique to this production, but you have these other things to pull from.
I think I just try to take from wherever as much as I can. John Cazale's performance is obviously so iconic and incredible, and it's just the forehead and the hair and the sweat and everything. So it's just gonna be different. I'm not trying to play him, and he was, there's very little information about the guy Salvatore Naturale, who I'm portraying, who died that day, on August 22nd, 1972. That guy. So he was much younger than me. So I don't know. We're just trying to tell a good story, which is based on that stuff. But Stephen Adly Guirgis, who wrote it. It's taken from a lot of different sources. There's a weird book that was written after the success of the movie. That was kind of like a cash grab that somebody wrote, but it's like a kind of a pulpy, softcore porn sort of book, which is great. So we took from that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is you mentioned the person you're playing dies. So this is obviously not a spoiler alert.
Oh yeah, shoot! I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah. You've played people who've died on stage and in films and in movies. But on stage it's weird because you have to die every night.
It's so cool when you die on stage. It's amazing because the lights come down and then you're resurrected. I find it really magical.
Yeah.
It's really sort of beautiful, poetic thing happens. And I get I'm reincarnated. I think I've died probably hundreds of times on stages.
Do you say to your agent now, give me one of the die parts? Give me one of the dying ones?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a shortcut to audience sympathy.
We actually, because you've had sort of a long and a diverse career of roles, but these are on-screen deaths.
Oh, okay.
Do you want me to tell you? Do you want me to give you the name of the movie and you tell me how you died, or how you died and you tell me the name of the movie?
Maybe you say how I died. Maybe
yeah. Okay.
That sounds like I could do less talking.
All right. You were shot to death by a Coast Guard officer while defending yourself against malevolent children.
Is that a Mexican horror movie? Come Out and Play?
Come Out and Play is correct, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Juegos de Niños is the original title.
Juegos de Niños?
Juegos de Niños.
Was it an adaptation, or were you in the Mexican version?
It was a remake of a Spanish horror movie, but I was in the Mexican one. Yeah, that's a Mexican film. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Mm-hmm. You were stabbed in the neck with a harpoon.
Blow the Man Down.
Yep. Yeah, there you go.
Harpoon. I was very local death.
Oh, local death.
It was like, typical
ship death.
Maine,
typical, right. All right, you were shot in the back by Mike Starr. when you lunged at Gene Wilder.
That was the first time I died.
Was that your first death?
Yeah.
What was the name of it?
Murder in a Small Town.
Murder in a Small Town, 1999.
Died in Gene Wilder's arms.
Wow. Pretty good.
It's as good as it gets.
For first deaths to die in Gene Wilder's arms, I can't believe you still enjoy it. It feels like it's all downhill.
I know. I'm just chasing that.
Shot in the head with a laser gun.
That sounds Star Wars. But so that's Andor. You're not allowed to say gun. It's a blaster.
Oh.
Yeah. You should know that.
I should know that.
You should know that.
Kind of embarrassed. Obviously, Andor's, at Sci-Fi Universe. Obviously, you've done some comic book Fantastic Four now. Read some comic books back in the day, and I want to tell you, I also got my hands on some this back in the day. You were a fan of ElfQuest.
Yeah, you were a fan of ElfQuest?
I liked ElfQuest, and I think it turns out maybe for the same reason.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There were some pretty good-looking elves.
Yeah, the elves were really, really hot. Yeah. Curvaceous
and it was like
elves.
curvaceous elves, and like it didn't look like when you bought it. I don't think your parents thought that was what you were after.
No, it for like a nerd in the '80s, like the Venn diagram, like it threaded the needle perfectly of like genre and.
Yeah.
Like,
it's weird because I feel like some guys would hide a Playboy in an ElfQuest, and I'm like, ElfQuest is fine.
Yeah.
I don't need to hide anything. Yeah, these are some. And you mentioned recently that you were an ElfQuest fan, and they reached out.
Well, they just sent over the omnibus,
which is like the collection of all the ElfQuests.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So great.
Does your wife know? Like when she sees it, is like, Ben, what's this?
Yeah, I have it. Yeah, exactly.
What's this omnibus? Hey, man. Congrats on your Broadway debut. It's so nice to see you as always. Evan Moss Backrack, everybody. Dog Day Afternoon is playing at the August Wilson Theater through July 12th.